Oh, hello again. Welcome. Welcome into another edition of Strategies for Living here on 1017 FM and 710 Keel. And I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan at the other side of the broadcast table. There she is, grinning like a Chessy cat. She must have high self confidence and good self esteem.
Tomorrow's Friday.
Okay. Yeah. PLPC Carla McCormick.
Hi, gang.
Hey, how are you? And of course, behind the controls, he definitely has high self confidence and great self esteem because he's a radio guy.
That's right.
Rapid Ruben Wright, the ace of the airways.
That is the typical radio guy stereotype. We're all so confident and self-assured.
Okay, I'm just going to leave it right there. Yeah.
Why not?
But we've been talking this week about thoughts and feelings, and what's a thought, what's a feeling, what's the difference. And so we're this evening going to add to our discussion. Yesterday we were keeping things in perspective with cognitive therapy. This evening we're going to talk about building self-confidence and building self-esteem. We'll jump into that and how our thoughts really impact self-confidence and self-esteem. You game for that, Carla?
I love this topic.
All right. Folks, I hope you'll love the topic because we're talking about it this evening here on Strategies. We're presented by CADA, the Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse of Northwest Louisiana. They've been helping individuals and families for 60 years now. We're also brought to you by Milestones Counseling Center. We're brought to you by Resilient House. We're brought to you by Jerry Anderson State Farm Insurance, by Learning RX, by Highland Place Rehab and Nursing Center, by Jacob's Well Inspirational Books and Gifts. And we'll be back. We'll be back to build our self-confidence, build our self-esteem, as Strategies for Living focuses on thinking and feeling. What's the difference?
Lots.
On the horizon, over two young lovers.
If we're talking addiction prevention, education, and treatment in Shreveport-Bossier for 60 years, we're talking about CADA. Let's talk about addiction. Let's talk about treatment. Let's talk about getting your life back. The Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse, CADA, has been helping individuals and families in Shreveport and Bossier City for 60 years now. CADA provides intensive residential treatment as well as outpatient services too. CADA treats women with children, pregnant women, adolescents, veterans. CADA has helped thousands and thousands of people in North Louisiana from just about every race and ethnic background, every socioeconomic level, across every class line. CADA has helped single mothers, attorneys, teachers, nurses, doctors, construction workers, musicians, you name it. Life is better on the other side of recovery. Call 222-8511 or www.cadanwla.org.
When's the last time you checked your credit score? Those three-digit scores can have a huge impact on your financial life. Credit Karma can help you with free scores, free reports, and free monitoring. Credit Karma also gives you the tips, tools, and advice you need to understand your credit and how to improve it. You can even spot potential errors on your credit report. That can mean better interest rates on loans and credit cards, which can save you thousands of dollars in the long run.
Welcome back. Welcome back into 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan with PLPC Carla McCormick. Let me tell you about Susan. So Susan came in and she had this belief that she just couldn't be confident. That she was convinced that confident people had something that she just didn't have. I'm looking at you, Carla, like maybe blonde hair. That's what Susan thought.
Poor Susan. Because blondes do have more fun.
Yeah, or maybe, I don't know, long legs or something like that, right? And she wasn't sure how the differences between her and them, those others, allowed their confidence to remain strong in the face of adversity, while hers remained elusive and fragile, even in good times. But she suspected that confidence was unchangeable because it was determined by chance, or it was written in the stars, or something like that. Confidence to her meant having a strong personality, which was either built in from birth, built in from the start, or it was built up from encouragement at home and at school. And she was 32 years old. She was grown. She was an adult. So it seemed to her that the opportunities for becoming confident had, they had passed her by. They were gone, and they were gone for good. So she lacked self-confidence. And, what do we Catholics say? It's just a cross you got to bear.
Yeah, that's just your burden.
That's what Susan said. It's just a cross I have to bear. So whatever she did, it was likely to remain with her and to let her down in the same way as, she didn't have blonde hair. She, attractive lady, but she had frizzy, dark hair. So, okay, well, it wasn't going to work for her, right? She could wait for her lucky break, maybe the perfect hair lotion coming on the market, and or whatever. But in her heart of hearts, she believed, and this is the key. She believed
that's just who she was.
That's who she was. That there wasn't any other option. Those were her beliefs. So let's think about what are some of the effects of low self-confidence. So if you think about it, self-confidence, self-esteem, it affects our thinking, it affects our feelings, it affects our behavior. Believe it or not, it even affects our body. Okay, so our thinking, low self-confidence, I can't. That's too difficult. I don't know how. Maybe I won't be able to handle this. I won't be good enough. Someone will be able to do this better. I just can't decide what to do. All of that, those are thoughts,
right,
that go with low self-confidence. Feelings like anxiety, especially anticipatory anxiety, apprehension, worry, frustration and anger with yourself, a fear of the unknown, resentment. It seems it's easy for everybody else, but it's not for me. Discouragement. All right. So when you take those those thoughts and those feelings and you translate it into behavior, what do you think you're going to see? Right? You're going to see a lot of passivity rather than being active. You're going to maybe tend to keep yourself in the background. You're going to find it hard to put yourself out there, to move forward, put yourself forward, make a suggestion. You might avoid taking on anything new, making new changes in your life. You might constantly be looking for advice, seeking help. You're hesitating. You're needing encouragement. You take a back seat. You take a back seat, more often than not, and you keep asking for assurance. Those are all behaviors. How, might you ask, is that going to translate into the body? Go ahead.
First thought, posture, slumping.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
tall people who make themselves short.
Yeah. Not looking people in the eye.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Fumbling and fidgeting around,
Nervous laughter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Being sluggish and lethargic. Even feelings of tension and nervousness. So, all right. So Susan has this set of beliefs that I just have to, this is the way it is. What are we going to do for her? What are we going to do for her to help her with cognitive therapy?
We're going to send her to Carla McCormick, PLPC, for an appointment.
Yes, we are. And what are you going to do first with Susan? What are you going to begin? Because Susan she comes in with this belief that there's an overriding belief here, right? I don't know if you picked up on it or not. I'm sure you did. Maybe some of our listeners did or didn't. But it's like she's looking outside for what needs to be developed inside. And I bet that's what Carla McCormick is going to begin to work on first with her, don't you think?
Well, we're going to back up. We're going to take that lens and we're going to back up, and we're going to look at her belief systems and what they are and why she believes what she believes and what in her mind confidence is.
Yeah.
Because sometimes our what we think happiness is supposed to look like, what we think beauty is supposed to look like, what we think a good mother, a good spouse is supposed to quote unquote look like,
right, is
really just a fabrication in our minds. So, we have to
Are you saying we're making this all up?
Well, kind of. And we have to learn. I mean, first thing I would tell her is that confidence is not, and self-esteem is not one thing. It's, long legs, being skinny, the perfect weight, having the perfect job is not going to make you automatically being confident. Yeah.
There's, we have in psychology, there's a term, and it's called overdetermined. And overdetermined, sometimes we think, I've just got to find the cause of this. If I can just find the cause of this,
right,
then, it's like that insight is going to do magic. But, and sometimes I think we therapists feed that sometimes. We don't mean to. But, insight is overrated.
It can be.
It can be overrated because once I get the insight, I might work years to get to the insight, to find the answer. But once I find the answer, what does that change?
Nothing if your behavior doesn't change.
If my behavior and thinking about the world and myself doesn't change. So overdetermined just means there's not just one singular cause. Overdetermined means that it's several things coming together has created this situation. So you said it so well. Confidence is not just one thing. It's a combination of things, and I've got to be willing to look at all of it, including, how I speak to myself, how I talk to myself, what I say to myself. My confidence, is gonna be in great measure how that ongoing conversation that I have with myself in my head. We all have it,
My kind of epiphany back in the day, I didn't realize that not everybody left a dinner party or a luncheon and replayed every conversation in their head, picking themselves apart, thinking, oh, why'd I say that? I was so stupid. I bet they're so dumb because I said that. And I bet I hurt so-and-so's feelings. So paying attention to what I was doing to myself and realizing that there were some people who just left the lunch and just went home was a startling epiphany to me. Yeah. And it was the beginning of this journey for me. Realizing that I had power to change that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Susan also had to understand that appearances can be misleading. A lot of people appear to be confident, um, even when they're not. It's as if they, you know, they know they might make a mistake. They might get things wrong, put their foot in their mouth, but they still can behave as if everything will be all right. And so we have to understand that things aren't always what they appear to be. Appearances can be misleading. One of the ways that we can, find this out is if we have someone that we think, oh, well, that person has great self-confidence, get into a conversation, an honest conversation with that person, and see what's really going on.
What's the quote? You can't compare your insides to somebody else's outsides.
Oh, I like that. I like that. So, it's not just one thing. Appearances can be misleading. What do we say a lot of times? Feelings follow behavior. So we'll come back from this break, and we'll add to that. Just keep that in mind as we move to break here on Strategies. We're talking about some basic skills. We're talking about some basic skills today to improve our self-confidence and therefore our self-esteem here on Strategies during Thoughts and Feelings Week. We'll be back. Welcome back. Welcome back to 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL here on Thoughts and Feelings, a week on strategies, talking about building self-confidence and building self-esteem this evening. And we I left you with feelings follow behavior, because we say that a lot here on strategies. Let me reintroduce PLPC Carla McCormick.
Hi, everybody.
And I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan. So we're talking about, okay, some things that my client Susan just had to accept. Confidence is just not one thing. Appearances can be misleading. We talked about feelings follow behavior. So, confidence comes from doing things. Feelings follow behavior.
What do we say? Fake it till you make it?
Yeah.
I kind of don't really like that.
I don't either, Carla. I'm with you. But
the sentiment is good. behind.
Yeah. You've got to realize that how would you ask yourself this? If I had high self-confidence, what would I be doing? Okay, go do that. And you don't have to, we're going to talk later about judging yourself and keeping that at bay, but don't set yourself up, be kind, be gentle with yourself. You don't have to do it perfect, but try to do it. Just move yourself out there.
Well, a better way to ask the question is, what am I not doing that I really want to do because I'm afraid?
Yeah.
Because I'm afraid of failure, I'm afraid of ridicule, I'm afraid of any number of things.
Yeah. So confidence comes from doing things, and people take you at your own estimation. It's like Susan borrowed a friend's truck, and the truck was old. She had to move. She had to move some stuff, and while she was moving the stuff, the clutch broke, and she was stranded out, and she had to call the friend up and say, "I think I broke your truck." And the friend just kind of said, "Oh, well, okay." It kind of went along, because we kind of go with, it's kind of human nature. People take you at your own estimation. Turns out that she didn't break the clutch. The clutch was an old truck. It was when her friend bought the truck, it was used. It had thousands and thousands of miles on it. The clutch was going to, in the process of breaking anyway. Susan just happened to be, out there when the clutch broke.
Right. So nothing she did was made it break.
Nothing she did. No. But again, it was kind of an aha moment. Okay, I didn't do this. So those are kind of underlying things to some strategies. Now, we are strategies for living. So let's talk about some strategies for building self-confidence, and then we'll relate that on to self-esteem. Practice and practice and practice. That's the first strategy. I watched, I watched back in the day. I watched those pizza guys at Shakey's Pizza. You remember Shakey's Pizza?
Yeah, I do remember Shakey's Pizza.
It was our first pizza joint here when I was a kid. It was so exciting. We got a McDonald's and we got Shakey's, It
was big time.
Yeah. But they would toss that pizza up in the air, back in the day. They didn't keep doing that at Shakey's, but at first, they'd toss that pizza up in the air. I wanted to do that.
Did you learn?
No.
Oh, wow.
No. But if I had really wanted to learn, I don't doubt that I could have learned, but I would have probably had to peel a lot of pizzas off of the ceiling, right?
Well, I used to play a lot of tennis, and you have to practice to be good, and
you have to play people who are better than you.
Well, and
right?
Yes, you have to, and because you have to lose.
Yeah.
And so, but the more you practice, the more confident you get. And then the more confident you get, the more you can go out there and do what you need to do. I mean, so, yes, practice your talking to people, practice your speeches, practice whatever you're doing.
Yeah. So that's another strategy. Behave as if.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So, in an unconfident moment, You might ask yourself, how would I behave if I really felt confident? How would I handle that? And then again, go do that. Behave as if. Take the zigzag path.
What is that?
So confident behavior, especially when it's a newfound acquisition, can sometimes kind of go to our heads. Be willing to understand that, okay, let me put it this way. We think linearly. So point A, point B, I can see point A, I can see point B. Linear is straight line.
Okay.
Right? Okay.
All right.
All of us get that. Here's the problem. That's not the way people change. People change in zigzag. So I can still see point A, I can see point B, but what's going to happen is I take 3 steps forward, 2 back, 5 forward, 4 back. It's a zigzag.
Right.
So I'm going to get there. Again, now, we're linear thinkers. So where are we most likely to stop and start judging ourselves and criticizing ourselves? It's when we've moved forward 5 steps, now we're back 3 steps, and I'm measuring those 2 points. And, look at this. I've got to be willing to look at the zigzag. I've got to be willing to look and, well, wait a minute. I started back here, and even though I've slid back a little bit, look where I am now. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what you're saying is it's really a process.
And you've got to realize, hey, the only way is the zigzag path because that's the way people change. Yeah. Make sense?
Yeah. I mean, well, because if it was easy enough to change in one fell swoop, you would have already done it.
Yeah. I like this next strategy. Make the most of your mistakes. Just absolute, like on the tennis court. When you go out and you play somebody better than you, make the most of your mistakes.
Yeah, what did the coach say? Well, sometimes you learn more from a loss than a win. And I'm like,
yeah.
I don't think so.
But as you're walking off the court, choose to ignore it.
So let it go.
Let it go. Yeah. Make the most of your mistakes and then ignore them. The mistake made by unconfident people is to think that mistakes matter.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like that. I need it. That's really good. The mistake made by unconfident people is to think that mistakes matter.
If you tried every day for the next year to make a mistake that nobody had ever made before, you would most probably fail.
Wow.
Think about that. What matters is not doing something wrong nor doing something badly, but whether you can recognize it. You can recognize it, recognize the mistake, and then set yourself on a different path because you see the mistake. You recognize it. And Samuel Beckett said, it is for us no matter, try again, fail better.
Well, that's like the Thomas Edison quote, right? He just kept, every time he failed at making the light bulb, he just said that was one way not to do it.
Yeah, there you go. Mistakes are a source of information. That's what mistakes are. Errors are for learning. Only those who have ceased to develop will never take a wrong step. Because if we're developing, we're going to make mistakes. So make the most of your mistakes and then ignore them. Another strategy is to limit self-blame. You know about the water under the bridge rule?
No, what's that?
Yeah, so you operate on a statute of limitations. I think we talked yesterday or day before about the statute of limitations. Kicking yourself for past inadequacies or confusions or failures gives fuel to your internal wavering voice. So cut off its supply of oxygen and use the encouraging voice. Imagine that you had a champion whose job it was to bring out the best in you. What encouraging thing would this person be whispering to you? Imagine you had that person, maybe sitting on your shoulder, whispering into your left ear. What would that champion be saying to you? What would he or she be whispering in your ear? Amplify those messages so you can hear them loud and clear. Limit the self-blame. You're acknowledging by doing this. There's a subtlety here. I'm not trying to kill it. I'm not trying to kill off that voice. I'm just saying, okay, well, how can I put a little champion on my shoulder and limit it by giving me some alternative. And then finally, the final strategy I want to talk about is be kind, and be kind to everybody. That includes to yourself. Be kind to yourself.
Most definitely. If we talk to other people as badly as as some people talk to themselves, I would get beat up.
Yeah. All right, so self-confidence. How does self-confidence meld into self-esteem? Because self-esteem is a pretty difficult concept, really. If our self-esteem is high, we feel good about ourselves. If it's low, we feel bad about ourselves. That's pretty straightforward, right?
Right.
That's pretty, it makes sense. The higher our self-esteem, the more likely we are to achieve our potential, and the lower our self-esteem, the more inhibited we'll be. There's not much as disabling as a sense of worthlessness. People who feel they're worthless or don't count also feel that they don't have anything to contribute.
So wait a second. I'm going to back you up. What is the difference between self-esteem and self-confidence?
I think okay, so think about what we just talked about. Self-confidence is more a projection. It's very behavioral. It's what we're showing, okay? Self-esteem is more what we're feeling on the inside, the emotion, the energy in motion. Remember from our earlier programs this week, we said that emotion is the combination of that feeling and thought cycle, right? So
right.
In brain development, we begin with the feelings. We learn to feel. We're able to feel before we're able to think, and then a lot of what we call quote unquote feelings are actually thoughts that use to label that, because feelings are physical sensations in the body. That's what feelings are.
Right.
But we label them with things like quote unquote anger, quote unquote hungry. And because in the brain it's feeling, thought, feeling, thought, feeling, thought, feeling, thought, then the emotion, energy in motion, emotion is that cycle, that feeling, thought cycle. Okay?
Okay.
And so the self-esteem is more of that emotion on the inside, whereas self-confidence is more of that projection on the outside.
So self-confidence would be the part that other people see.
Yes.
Self-esteem is the part that's on the inside.
Absolutely. So when we come back from this break, we're going to talk about some strategies. We are Strategies for Living. We're going to talk about some strategies, about 5 of them, that will build self-esteem. Can we do that?
Okay.
All right. We'll be back.
I am sorry.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back into 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. And hey, thanks for the, we're on Facebook, right? We don't mention that enough. You got to remind me to mention that more.
That we're on Facebook?
Yeah.
I know. Well, and I have a bone to pick about that. I signed up for radio. I did not sign up for this,
Ruben,
this vision of me.
Well, and Ruben's over here saying, I signed up to be the ace of the airwaves. I signed up to be a radio guy. I did not sign up to be Carla's camera makeup person, right?
Well, that's not the problem. I'm talking, he's on you. You're talking, he's on me, digging in my nose and getting blueberries out of my teeth.
Well,
I'm only just barely doing that on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Ruben.
But he can be paid. There are some.
I can pay him with pizza, probably.
Yeah, for a slight fee. This can be corrected.
Well, just keep the camera on Dave, would you?
Welcome back into Strategies for Living. And hey, folks, thank you for joining us on Facebook. You go to Facebook and it's Strategies for Living. And
we're live.
We're live, and tell people about it. You can, as Carla just said, you can watch her with the blueberries, and more, and tell people about it because tell people to like us on Facebook. That's where how we will build. Thank you for the comments so far. There was a gentleman that said we need a more interactive platform. We're working on that. I agree 100%. We'll make that. We'll make that happen in the future.
Will it be a call-in show?
Yeah. I think there's ways to do that. There's ways to do that.
I think it's time.
Yeah. So it may be not the traditional telephone, but maybe through Facebook, maybe through interacting with messaging.
Sure. Yeah, they can message the page directly. Even they can comment on the video. They can do all kinds of things.
There you go.
In touch with us. Yeah,
that's available to us right now. So if you're on Facebook and you have a question for us, put it up there. We'll get it on the air. If you're listening 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, are on the KEEL app, by the way, which you can download and listen to all over the world.
Even down south in Lafayette.
Even way down south in Lafayette, Louisiana. You can interact with us that way and jump on Facebook, give us your question, we'll get it on the air. So we're talking about some strategies to build self-esteem. Attack the prejudice would be a strategy. We all have prejudice in our mind. We have this rolling conversation, don't we? And a lot of that time, that rolling conversation can get very prejudiced about ourselves. In fact, that's one of the things self-esteem is. It's prejudice. And I don't know if we've ever thought about that. We attack prejudice when we see it outside, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah, we attack it and we say that's wrong. Well, then why is it okay inside? Because that's what self-esteem is. It's being prejudiced about oneself, seeing oneself as unworthy or unacceptable.
Well, I think it has to do with those seeds being planted at such an early age. Things like, I had a client. You're the pretty one and your sister's the smart one.
Yeah.
You're not that good at math.
Yeah.
Well, let's teach this brother how to play guitar because he won't be as good an athlete as his other brother.
Right.
And those are seeds. So you grow up thinking, well, I'm not good at math, or I'm the pretty one, or I'm not really that smart. And those prejudices stick.
Yeah. So attack them. Attack the prejudice. That's your job now, as a grown woman. Again, back to Susan. We started this conversation about my client Susan, and so she's got to be willing to look at that and say, okay, I'm 32 years old now. I can't do anything about what I learned back then. I realized that my parents did the best they could, but that they had things that they weren't real clear about, and some of that got loaded into me.
So you got to unlearn it.
You got to unlearn it, but you got to be responsible for it. You're grown now. You've got to take that responsibility. So you wouldn't tolerate prejudice outside. Don't tolerate it inside either. Attack the prejudice. Stifle the critic. We all have an internal critic, and it can be loud. The critic within you is absolutely resourceful. And that's part of our ego. We talk about the ego and how wily it is sometimes.
Right.
And the ego, part of the ego's job is to criticize. So, whatever has happened, you might want to really think about it. You might want to clarify the facts. You might want to accept what went wrong, if something went wrong. And then when the critic begins on the inside of you, talk back to it. I know this may sound weird, but there are many parts in us. There are many different parts inside of us. And one of the parts that most of us have is a critic. And you might even make a little caricature of him or her. And
little gremlin. That
little gremlin, and then talk. We've also got a judge. So another strategy is bury the judge. What did Shakespeare say? Kill all the lawyers, kill them tonight. I think that.
Yeah, but that's not the kind of judges we're talking.
Yeah, but we're talking about the internal judge. By the way, Ruben, in the Eagles song we were talking about last week, "Get Over It." I think that line is in that Eagles song.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, kill all the lawyers. Oh, Billy was right. Kill all the lawyers.
Right.
That's Shakespeare. So bury the judge. The judge is that person inside that is doing just what the name says, judging. I'm not wanted. I'm in the way. I don't matter. And it's comparing. So bury the judge. The judge is unfair to you. It's that part of you that says to a friend, you really did well getting the job, but when you get a job, you say, well, I was just lucky. You'll say something different to a friend than you'll say to yourself.
Well, or that, they like me, but they don't really know me. If they really knew me, then they wouldn't like me so much.
Yeah.
That voice.
Yeah. Another strategy is do your best. Just do the best you can. There's an important difference between having an ideal and making a rule to live by. The ideal may be perfect. It may be unflawed. It might be without blemish, but that's not life. That's not real. That's not the way we live. Even the most perfect flower, when you really look at it, you can see the flaws, right? And
the most perfect diamond.
The most perfect diamond. Anything in nature, if you really look, you'll see the flaws. Well, we're no different. So just make the choice. Make the decision and the choice. Just do the best you can.
Well, just because your best is not as good as someone else's doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
It's your best, though.
Yes.
Yeah, it's your best. Put friends around you that make you feel good. Develop a system around you that can support you, that are supportive of you, and surround yourself with those kinds of people.
The ones that make you laugh and make you feel good.
Yeah,
cheer you on.
Spend time with those people, and all of that is within your, within your
control.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that aren't in your control, but all of those things, those strategies, you can do something about, and they will impact your self-esteem. Talking about thoughts and feelings this week on strategies. Talking about self-esteem today. We'll summarize when we come back and talk about what we're going to talk about to wrap up Thought and Feeling Week. How about that, Carla?
Pretty good.
Okay. Strategies coming back.
Have mercy. I was taking a trip out to L.A., tooling along in my Chevrolet, toking on a number and digging on the radio. Just as I crossed the Mississippi line, I heard that
I love getting y'all's feet stomping.
No.
Token on a number, huh?
That's old Charlie Daniels. That's the uneasy rider.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, we're building self-esteem, so I like it.
Now.
101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. And we are kind of summarizing what we've talked about today. Self-confidence, you know, the insights that we've talked about. It's just not one thing. And, you know, it's confident people around you may not be as confident as you think. We gain confidence from doing. And, you know, if you tell people you're no good, they might believe you. So
And practice.
And so, yeah. And so the strategies to build up your self-confidence, practice, behave as if you're more confident than you might feel, be flexible in your behavior, learn from your mistakes, and, you know, silence that voice of self-blame. Speak encouragingly to yourself. Be kind. Be kind to yourself. And then we talked about the strategies to help you build self-esteem. Attack those prejudices. You will not let prejudice exist outside of you. Why should you let it exist inside of you? Don't undervalue yourself. So attack the prejudice inside. Stifle the inner critic. Bury the judge within you that uses a double standard. Do the best you can, and don't berate yourself because you're not quote unquote perfect. And surround yourself with people who make you feel good. So do that, and self-esteem is going to get better. We promise.
Bit by bit.
Yep. Tomorrow, we are going to talk about the questions. Because we are on a quest, aren't we? And so we're going to talk about this. There's 7 questions, but there's 3 big ones and 4 magic ones. And so we're going to talk about that tomorrow.
Why am I here?
What am I doing here? Yeah. And so all of that really is wrapped up, believe it or not, in our feeling, in our thinking, as we conclude Thoughts and Feelings Week here on Strategies. So are you down for it?
I am down.
All right.
Diggity down.
Folks, again, don't forget the KEEL app. Don't forget to tell people about us, and wherever they are, they can listen to us. All they got to do is download the KEEL app. Don't forget to tell people about Facebook. Go like us, Strategies for Living on Facebook. We've been presented by CADA, the Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse of Northwest Louisiana, by Milestones Counseling Center, by Jerry Anderson, State Farm Insurance, by Learning RX, by Highland Place Rehab and Nursing Center, by Resilient House, and by Jacob's Well, inspirational books and gifts. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who is it that you'd call? What is it that you would say? Why are you waiting? Make the call. For PLPC Carla McCormick, for Reuben Wright, I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan. See you next time here on Strategies for Living.